Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Iggy's Bodybuilding Camp. I'm about to start a new series where I look at bodybuilding myths. There is so much conflicting information out there on the internet, and it's telling you so many things, and for somebody who's new to lifting, to bodybuilding, it can be confusing. Hopefully the series that I start, I'll look at some of these myths and put an end to them conclusively and once and for all. In today's video, I'm going to look at a very popular myth, which is that the body can only absorb a certain amount of protein per hour or per sitting, and therefore you need to eat every 4 hours or so in order to maintain your mass, to keep making gains. Otherwise, you're just gonna shrivel and wither away. This myth is probably one of the most irritating myths for me. The main reason is because it's illogical. We as a human species would not have survived this long if our bodies could only absorb a certain amount of protein and everything else just went to waste. Because we have survived through feast and famine. We would go through periods where we'd eat all of our protein in one go, have no food for a day or two, and then we'd eat again. And the body is extremely good at utilizing what we give it and maximizing it across however long it needs to. That is how we've survived. If the body could only use 20 to 40 grams in that one meal that we ate and the rest of it was just wasted, we wouldn't have had enough amino acids, enough cells, building block cells, to recover, to repair, to grow our hair, our skin, our organs, our muscles, so we would have died. It makes no sense. So let's look at how the body uses protein and amino acids. When you eat, protein goes into your stomach, and the body releases enzymes and acids which then break it down into building blocks called amino acids, which are then passed into the small intestine, and from there it's absorbed into the blood and transported across to the body. These amino acids are used for repair and growth of tissues, cells, organs, you name it, muscles, everything. If there is still an excess of amino acids, the muscles will store them for use later on. If after that there's still an excess of amino acids, it's then broken down into glycogen and used by the brain and other cells for energy. Now, when you eat protein, when it reaches your stomach, it sends a signal to the brain, and the brain signals the release of hormones which slow down digestion. Which is why we say that eating a higher protein diet is better, because it keeps you satiated. That slowdown of digestion and absorption of amino acids is all part of the process. Remember, the small intestine is about 6 meters long, so it's a very long, thin organ, and as the amino acids pass through, the slower they pass through, the longer it takes for it to go through that 6 meter long intestine, and the longer it takes for the body to effectively buy time to use the amino acids, utilize them over a longer period of time. There have been so many studies done, especially within the intermittent fasting enthusiasts, that prove that the body does not just use a certain amount of protein per sitting. I'll use the example of a famous YouTuber called Kino Body, and he says that the way he likes to do things, he's a big intermittent faster, he likes to eat all of his protein, or the vast majority of his protein, in his first meal, and then the rest of the day he has carbs and fats left over, which he can then use and play with as he wishes, and indulge in his favorite foods. Now, Kino Body is still lean, muscular, and makes gains. He's a strong guy, and you know, he's just an example of where this whole myth, the fallacy of, oh, you can only absorb a certain amount of protein per hour or per meal, just isn't true. Different proteins are absorbed at different rates as well, so bear in mind, you know, casein is a slow digesting protein, whereas whey protein, isolate or concentrate, is digested very quickly. And it's the same for if you eat protein which is high in fat, it will digest a lot slower, versus if you eat white fish which is very low in fat, it will digest a bit quicker. So it all depends on what you're eating with your food, how you're eating it, the amount of protein you get. The more muscle you have, the bigger you are, the more protein you'll need and use. The more you move around, the more active you are, your age. All of these things are factors in the amount of protein you need and the body will utilize. But ultimately, the key to protein use and absorption is to make sure that you get the amount of protein you need on average per day or even per week. I know that I need a certain amount of protein every day, so that's usually around about 2.5 grams per kilo of body weight, and I make sure I get that. How I take that in, it doesn't matter. If I'm gonna have a meal which is 100 grams of protein versus another meal which is 20 grams of protein, it doesn't matter. I just make sure that across the entire day I get in my set amount of protein, however I get that in, depending on what I'm eating. And that's it. That's all you have to do. It's as simple as that, really. Eating your protein however you can across the day, that's the key. I'll leave it right there. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to comment, like, share and subscribe. Keep living the life. Be the best version of yourself that you can be, and I'll see you next time.